Have you ever been gaming or working online classes and your internet service constantly gets interrupted? First Nations Fiber is about to ensure that just won't happen again. Get ready for high speed at a new level. Click on fnfiber.com and sign up today. First Nations Fiber, empowering people through connectivity.
Segu and welcome to our podcast, Gwabordak Duni. We share our stories with you. Today, we're honored to have a very special guest with us in studio, Niioieren Patton, a respected Ganyageha knowledge keeper. We're grateful to work closely with her, especially when we welcome students to the Mohawk Trail Longhouse here in Kahnawake. Niioieren shares our stories and helps our guests connect deeply with our culture, our teachings, and our world. I'll be your host today. My name is Bronwyn Gowanahoe Johns, and I'm from the Snipe Clan. I'm proud to be working here in our community, helping to connect to our history, our stories, and our culture to present day. Today, we'll be talking about the beautiful and important time of year, strawberry season, Gatnia Hondessa. All around the community, we're seeing the small white blossoms begin to bloom, and we're filled with gratitude. These little flowers are a sign that the first berry of the season is on its way. In our culture, the strawberry holds a special place, not just as food, but as a plant we honor with deep respect and thankfulness. It carries powerful teachings and beautiful stories that have been passed down through generations. But I won't be the one to tell you them today. Instead, we're lucky to hear from someone who holds this knowledge to heart. Niioieren, could you share with us who you are a little bit and give us a little bit of idea of what you do in the community?
Wase wagwego, Niioieren yajatstano, Kahnawake ni ganagare, dano ni ganagarade neoni tinuaksutana raunusa. My name is Niioieren. I was born here in Kahnawake, in fact, just down the road in my grandfather's house because my mother was so stubborn. She did not want to go to the hospital. So I was born next to what used to be the old post office. I'm a retired teacher. I was fortunate to be able to teach kindergarten, Ganyongeha, and I made myself a promise a long time ago when I was 20 that one day I would speak only Ganyongeha, and I managed to accomplish that by even becoming a teacher of the language. I had to begin to learn when I was 20. So I was raised in Michigan. I didn't know much about anything, even when I was 20 years old. I had to begin to learn once something woke up inside of me that actually I worked for a research development company. They were going to the moon. That's when they made that shot to the moon. And my company was providing semiconductors. And I just remember the time when I felt like I let my ancestors down because I knew nothing. All I knew was their world. And I figured I owed my ancestors more than I was giving them. I began to learn. I was lucky to meet Odzitsa Gorna in Michigan. I was going to school there, and then we got married, and then we had our first son, Ganondo, in Michigan, and we moved back when he was 3 months old, and then I began to live here in Kahnawake. And living in Kahnawake, I've learned every day about who we are and what we are, and I've just been lucky that I've always been able to run into the right people to help me.
Oh, well, you're somebody that I've always walked away feeling like I've gotten a little gift, a little piece of something that I'm missing also, because I was on a road of reconnecting also. So I feel like a lot of people in the community are in that same boat. And it's really awesome to see that the younger generation is taking that initiative. So having people like you that are transmitting that knowledge is so key and so vital to what we're trying to do. Yeah. So on another note, on the strawberry season, I wanted to know, with sharing our teachings, would you be able to talk a little bit about the roots of our relationship with the strawberry and what is it, where did it begin for us as Ganyageha people?
It begins at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Everybody, well, hopefully everybody has in town here seen or listened to or thought about the creation story. And it's in the creation story that we come from the outer world, in the sky. And I can't say directly, I don't know that much, but we know that our grandmother in the upper world came to this planet. And the way the story is told, it's like magic. Mm-hmm. And I think it's that way because we're supposed to teach our children. And if we teach our children facts, they're going to listen to half of it. Mm-hmm. They're not really going to pay attention. But if you teach your child in a story form, they'll make pictures in their mind and they'll remember that story better. So it's like like our stories like a Walt Disney movie. But there are facts in there that once you've been told something, you spend your life searching for how does that story fit into what is real. And I've been lucky to see a lot of things that are real in our creation story. Our grandmother, they say, she came from the upper world, and she came, and it took nobody knows how long, and nobody knows what she went through coming in this direction. And when some people say she fell, some people say she was pushed, I believe it was planned. It was something that they knew had to happen. And so we say that when she fell, she grasped the soil of that place in the sky where there was a hole, and she brought in her hands plants as she grabbed that soil. And among those plants was the strawberry, because when she got here, they say she used those seeds to begin to plant our earth. And everybody knows about the great turtle who offered himself to support her. And then she told them she needed food. And so all the little animals helped her to find earth and how it grew. And then she danced and she sang songs and she danced, putting the seeds down as she went. And what that is the seasons. Every time our earth goes around the sun, that's a season. So that's the dance. And every season things grow. And the strawberry for us is the first one the first berry, the first fresh fruit that we get after the winter. And I think we celebrate mostly the foods that we're fortunate to have. And we don't even have to ask for them. We just hope that the season is not going to be different. So we do ceremonies to support and to encourage that season, to encourage that things always go the way they always have been, to take care of us. And it's a hope because it's never really a promise. And the ceremonies, we say that human beings are the weakest in the life cycle, in the cycle of life. All we offer is to give hope, to give thanks, and to, in giving thanks, give support to the natural world, and all the natural things continue to work together. We were told that at the beginning of time, we all received the same directions, the same instructions, but we all spend them and we express them in different ways. And our way is usually through words, through ceremony, through song, through dance. And so when we begin our ceremonies, almost every month is about the way the season develops, the growing season. We begin our year with the maple, and the maple, they say, is the first one to wake up all the trees. When the sap starts to run, we collect it. We do ceremony to open the trees. Once the sap is collected, they make sugar and syrup, and they say that was our sweetness, and it's our energy. And in drinking sap is medicine, because after the winter we've gone through, we've been eating preserved foods. At that time in February, it was hard to find animals. They were all hiding. It was so cold. So by the time the maple sap starts to run, we were weak too because of lacking nutrition. And so we've been given that gift of maple sap to help replenish our body with minerals and vitamins that we really needed at that time of the year. Mm-hmm. And then after that, the next ceremony we do medicine and then faces, the feast for our dead. And then we greet the sun and the moon when the sun becomes more stronger in April. May we open the gardens, or late April we open the gardens. We've already done that. And then we do seed ceremony to be thankful that we have seeds, to be hopeful that they'll be able to grow. And now the next one we're waiting for is the strawberry ceremony. And it should be maybe early in June, mid-June, because that's when we'll be able to see the berries develop, the wild ones. Mm-hmm. And they're so small, but they're the best tasting of all of the berries that you can ever find. They're the berries that come from the West are gigantic, but ours are they're smaller than
tiny little trees.
Pea.
Yeah.
And you have to work a little bit to get enough of them. But they say in that strawberry is also that what we need in order to continue. It's a gift, and it's a gift of sweetness again. I don't know if I've ever run into anybody that doesn't like a strawberry.
Right, exactly. It's a go-to favorite for the kids. And that's one thing right now in my yard, the kids and me have been identifying the areas where the wild strawberries are growing so that we know don't walk in that area, protect that area when we're going to cut our grass, don't cut that area. We were on the bike path going to the marina and we saw a huge section of wild strawberries. So I told my coworker, I said, I want to go and put up a little fence there so that they don't cut that area, because it would be nice to just get a bunch of kids out there and be able to pick those. So it's something that a lot of times we're so busy in life that a lot of time people overlook those little gifts that are hiding in plain sight.
They say that at the beginning, before the saltwater people came here, they say the berries were big and they were all over. You had to be careful where you walked. But like all things, they got pushed aside. And so now we have to look for them, and we have to hope all the time that they're going to be able to continue in spite of the things that human beings are doing to the earth.
That's one thing that I found interesting in some of the research that I did looking up stuff for this podcast today, was that when the Europeans did come here, they, like you said, saw the strawberries everywhere, and they were so sweet compared to other strawberries that they had found in other countries. So they took our sweet strawberry back with them to France with another version of a strawberry from South America, and they crossbred them. So that's the strawberry that they sell in the grocery stores. So they took the sweetness from ours and the size from another one, and that's what people buy. So I found that really an interesting part of history that a lot of people have no idea from, that they're enjoying that sweet treat and that where it comes from, that it's original from these lands. So another question that we had connected to that is there any values or lessons that the strawberry helps us remember or to live by in this current day and age that we live in now, where everything is so fast and everything is instant gratification? When we think of the strawberry and the cycle that it goes through, where it starts off as that little bud and then transforms into the flower berry, what does that mean to us as people? What value?
What I've been told is strawberry are women's medicine, and that you would take the leaves and make tea from them, and it would help your inside when you're having trouble. Probably good to just do that anyway. Strawberries have nutrition in them that I have no idea about what kind or how it is, but our ancestors valued them so much because it was evidence that the season continues. And like I said, there's never a promise, and so they're there. And there's even a fear that maybe one day there won't be berries. There will only be the leaves. And we see strawberries are all over, but like you said, most people they'll go through life, they won't even think about them, and they're struggling to survive like all the other natural things are struggling to survive. So it's all I've been told is that it's a woman's medicine, and that you use it if you need it.
I know my kids and my nieces and my nephews, that's one that they got a sore belly or they can't go to the bathroom, they eat a bunch of berries and they're good to go. So I know that it works its magic on everybody. And when you were talking earlier about the way that we tell stories and how we tell them in a magical way, I think life is just magical. And I think that the modern way of living tried to steal that magic away from people and disconnect that and make it like a fairy tale. But just how our bodies work and how these gifts from nature work so well with our bodies, that is magic. So it's something that a lot of people have to take a step back and appreciate the magic that's around us. So it's something that I hope to see more with the younger generations, of them just opening their eyes more and being more aware of what's around them and taking that time to be still and just to enjoy the moment and look around them. That's something that I'm always pushing toward with my kid. Be outside, spend that time, look around you, see the plants that are there. That's one thing. We took a bunch of invasive species out of my yard last week, and it was my little guy that told me, he's like, we got to take these out because they're not supposed to be here. And I was like, okay, and they're right near the strawberries, so okay, we'll take them all out. So it's really good that they're getting that knowledge and that information, because it's being transmitted from awesome, amazing people in the community, through the schools, through the workshops, and it's really important that we don't lose that knowledge. So we're so happy to have people like you in the community. So another question that I had was, do you have any personal memories or moments that brings you back thinking of strawberry?
Probably the most special is just being able to come back here because, like I said, I grew up in Michigan, but I would come back here every summer and spend the whole summer with my grandparents. My parents would drop us off. I think school would end around Memorial Day, and then we didn't have to go back until Labor Day. So we had a long summer, and it was different. And Kahnawake is like no other place. And I'm not sure if you have to leave to figure that out. I think people realize this is a special place, and we have to do everything we can to keep it special. I was at the environmental
summit
workshop that's happening right now, and they were talking about the water and how, as you said, there's invasive species that are affecting the streams that are in the village to the point where the water is hardly running, and those things have to be removed in order for that water to continue and to improve and to get back to it the way it was when our grandparents were here. And so I'm glad to hear you're teaching your children so well. I've seen a lot of change in Kahnawake since 74. I think that's when we came here. We came here in February of 74. We moved back. The strawberry, the really special memory I have is of my grandfather's garden. He lived down here in the main part of town next to what was the old post office. And his whole yard, his whole backyard was a garden. And he had a strawberry patch in there. And we used to go out and pick berries for my grandmother almost every day when the season was here. And you take a little cup and you go out, and they were pretty big. But that was our dessert every day during strawberry time. It was so different when I was younger because my grandmother was home. She made a big giant meal every day. I couldn't compete with her. Set the table, everybody ate together, and strawberries were there. And I just remember that most especially about his garden. He grew giantos, which is a medicine. That was the first thing he grew. Then right after that he had tomatoes, and then I think in the middle he had potatoes, and then he had some corn, and then he had pole beans. And I just remember I was a kid, and I remember the layout of his garden. It mattered. It mattered to him. And I guess they put away the food in the winter. I didn't really come back in the winter, but they took care of the earth. They worked with the earth. They understood it, and just lucky to have that experience with them because it's not the same in the cities.
Yeah, that's one thing that I grew up to with my grandmother, and my grandfather was renowned for his white corn gardens, and I was always in the garden with my grandmother, and that was her life, that was her passion. So when she ended up having an injury to her leg and she passed away, I was at peace with it because she wouldn't have been able to be in her garden, and that was her happy place, and that was her hands in the dirt, her dirty nails every day, scrubbing them in the sink at the end of the day. That was her place where she felt the best and the happiest, and you could see it every day. I ended up being in apartments and different places, and now I finally have a yard again. So it's such a game changer. I have the raspberry bushes and blackberry bushes and the strawberries that were already there, so I didn't have to work for that, but now I'll be able to my own small garden again. So I asked the little guys what they would want to, so cucumbers, watermelon, all the stuff that they like to eat. So it's nice to have that acknowledgement of the work that you put in and the gifts that you get back, and appreciate how hard it is to get those crops. People go to the grocery store and they buy something so fast, but that food necessarily isn't nutrient rich the same way that when you grow your own stuff at home. So it's something that is really important, and now it's amazing to hear in the community that doing greenhouse project, community gardens, and creating that buzz around the importance of having that healthy sustenance and that food sovereignty. Especially the berry is growing naturally, but we have so much more to do to ensure that it's on that path. It's really awesome to see more and more people getting and enjoying, because that's the biggest part. It shouldn't seem like a chore. It should be something fun.
No, there was a pattern because my grandfather welded just across the river for Canada Car, and he'd take the bus there and he'd get off the bus, and we knew that when he'd be back, because we had to be ready to help him. And it wasn't an issue. He let us pick potato bugs, and then we got to play with them and torture them. But it's like you willingly worked with your grandparents, and the garden was so precious to him. When he'd get off the bus, he would go and he would wash up. They didn't have running water, but he would clean himself before he went into the garden. That's how much he respected that work.
Yeah.
And it's the kids are lucky. Your kids are lucky that you're showing them these things, because, like you said, most people don't give a thought when they're eating the food. Who grew this? How much time did it take? How much worry was involved? So.
Yeah, it's something that we have to take the step back and then take that time to really think about things. Slow down a bit more. And science has proven now that people need to be outside. People need to be in nature. People need that for mental health and for your own spiritual side, a game changer. So a lot of people will think that they're too busy to take that time, but kids love being outside. So as soon as you get them outside there, it's a beautiful evening spent when you're outside there. So we're very grateful that we found a spot in Iorì that has a huge yard. And even now that there's an abandoned yard next to us, and we've been clearing out all the broken branches and burning them, and it cleared it up so beautifully. So now the foliage is coming in, and to them it was a treasure. When they walked in there yesterday, they're come over and see it. Wow. And it's just nature, but it really is this beautiful, beautiful gift that a lot of people don't realize is right outside their door.
That's what Odzizagorda worries about with the younger kids, because there's too much technology and they're glued to it. And, even we used to take a 12-hour drive to get from Michigan back home here. And you just, for 12 hours, you looked out the window. Now you take a young person in a car and they're looking at their phone. They're not looking at the world that they're passing through.
I know. I'm always like, look at that bird and look at this and look at that. So they know that they got to keep their eyes peeled when they're in the car. And sometimes we'll stop for roadkill. So it adds, it's being alive. And that's what a lot of people, I think that they don't realize that they have this gift that's just waiting for them to step into it. So that's awesome. Another question that I had was, like, we were talking about the young people and what Odzizagorda is afraid of with the future generations. How do you think we could help them be able to remember the importance of it and embrace time spent outside in nature?
Well, we're fortunate because in our schools now, they are teaching the kids. They are telling stories. I often talk with people coming into town, young classrooms. Teachers are bringing their kids here, and I tell them about our way, and our way is to use your eyes and your mind, because for us, we use symbols of almost everything to help you to think about another thing, that connection, just the connection of that's in the belts, the symbolism in there. You need to learn what it is, but it's meaningful and it means so much. Looking at a tree, being able to identify which ones are the maple, which ones are the ones for sugar. There's a lot of maple, and the symbolism of that is connected to that is the story about how we learned from the squirrels about sugar, about maple sap. Old information that just gets told by story to the next generation, and so we have to get back to that. And the people that are coming here from the city, they're just amazed at the way we see things, because their world is just like so commercial. They only see value if it's what can it be sold as for. So we look at, like I said, the trees. Well, the white pine is a symbol of our government. It's also the symbol of our connection from our mind to the sky world, to keep that there, because a tree is the tallest thing besides a mountain. But when you look at a tree, it's telling you something else. It's telling you, reminding you of a story, because most everything that there is, the metaphor that's involved in there is the teaching. And like I said, it's a story, and people say, oh, it's just a story. It's like a fairy tale. Well, it's not, because our creation story, there is that, it's quite a long story to get to where there was finally a continent that our grandmother actually was the one that made happen, because it was a water world when she came here. And we've all heard that Earth was a water world. Science scientists have decided that. Well, our people always knew that. And then the turtle helped our grandmother to create one land, and they put all that was on the top, her and her two children. They put all the green things that are there. And, that one island, I think they call it Pangaea. Scientists decided that. Well, our people always knew that. And they only decided that, I think, around, I don't know if it was the beginning of the 1900s or the 1800s. Some German decided there was only one land at one time, and it broke apart. And you can kind of fit the pieces back together. Tom Porter said, you can put it together and it'll look like a turtle.
Yeah.
And we tried it, and we kind of did it our way, and it does. It turns into like a turtle shell. But when they do it, it's not. So there's just so much information in the story that once you hear it, you share it. Your job once you hear something is to share it, and that's how these things continue. And your job is to, for the rest of your life, look for what is it, why is that part of the story there? And that's what I mean, like we learn the world knowledge of science, but we have our own science. And when the saltwater people come out with some kind of a decision that, oh, gee whiz, look at this maple sap, it's got all these nutrients, and I've heard them refer to it as perfect food. It's a liquid, it's a clear liquid, and our people always drank it. And we do ceremony to be thankful for it. And our people understood that gave nutrition always. But a scientist comes out and says, oh, gee whiz, and I think this is just not that long ago, maybe 50 years ago, that they declared it was a perfect food. Well, we always knew that. So our stories have value, and what we're given in nature is the gift that our duty is to support, to acknowledge, and, we do ceremony because we forget. Human beings are so weak. We're the weakest ones in the whole chain of life that we forget. So they say at one time, everyone got the same instructions. Once all the people were formed in the world, once everything was there, all the animals, all the trees, everything got the same direction from our Creator. And that was, from what I understand, to work together, to appreciate one another, to support one another, to hold hands together. We, our great law is a law for peace. And I was told that came from the upper world, the sky world, because we forget. Human beings are weak. We forget what we're taught. And so the great law came here to teach us, to bring us back to that beginning of instruction where we need to strive for peace and use your mind, because your mind is your best weapon. We see on the other side of the world where they're constantly fighting. They never seem to stop warring with each other. When they came here, our ancestors, I think, tried to teach them, but they didn't listen. I know the Americans were taught their way of government, but look at it now. It's they're destroying anything that was good in there that they did pick up. And I don't know where they're going. It's sad, because we're supposed to be so smart. So, all I can say is we need to keep learning our stories. We need to keep studying what our ancestors left for us. We're fortunate that we still have that, considering everything that the people have been through. I appreciate all of my ancestors. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And we can't look back and think that they ever hurt us or intended for us to be hurt. They intended for us to be here. And so for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah, when you were saying that at one point the whole world was given the same instructions, you can see that when you go to Museum of Civilization in New York City. Look at how the different people from all over the world were living. Everybody was living the same way at a certain point. And I don't know what happened to start changing the way of thinking, of having people be superior to other people. I don't know when that came about, but that's what caused all the trouble. But you can see that at one point, the tools that were being used were the same. The way of living together as families was the same. And then it changed. And then that way came over here and changed our way. But I always find it really important to listen to the teaching teachings, and you're saying Tom Porter, I always found it very interesting when I heard how he breaks it down that we only have 300 years of dust to take off to get back to our original way of living, whereas people that came from over the ocean had been removed from that way of life for thousands of years. And so they have a lot more digging to get back to where but they're constantly finding us. Like you said, we have tour groups that are coming to schools. And to me, that's really amazing because it's not coming from the top down.
Right.
It's coming from good-hearted people, good teachers, people that see the value in what we have to offer in bringing their students to sit with you, hear your teaching. Means they realize that they're missing something and that we might have that answer for them. So it's really uplifting to me, tourism, to be able to meet people from all over the world that are in this moment where they're trying to find a missing piece of something, of connection, and that they see that the Indigenous people have that connection still, and that it needs to be learned, it needs to be talked about, and it's to be in the ears and the minds of the children because they're the future. And we can't change what happened in the past, but we have hope for the future, and these young have their eyes open to see this. So it's really awesome to know that these teachings are happening in our own schools, but also that the outside schools are valuing, hopefully leaving with a little piece where they're going to be able to share with people around them. So get that ripple effect of change. A lot of times I'll hear from people, I'm just one person, can't change much. But then when I sit here with a person like you and I see the change that can be affected by sharing and kindness and appreciation, I throw that out the window. One person can make huge change, and it's really, really important for everybody to step up into their gifts and be able to raise our community and raise our people up, and hopefully bring them in the outside that money is not it. We only have one mother. We have to make sure that it's a good place for us because she'll survive no matter what.
Yeah.
But we have the damage. I mean,
we're the ones causing the damage.
Exactly. So it's really important for us to walk our walk, and that's one thing that a community. When I went to a council meeting, and a little girl stood up in front of all the counselors, and she said, "I deserve to have clean air, clean land, clean water." And my heart, I'm like,
Right.
It's amazing to hear that, and now hearing that little girl say that, what are you to support that?
Yeah.
So it's the more people we have that get on this collective, but
the individual has to do it. We cannot sometimes for someone else to begin to do it, but like each of us, each individual, what you're doing with your children, that's what has to happen. And as you said, the teachers keep coming back, and I know that's not in their curriculum, but they see value in teaching them something that is different, that, if they had to depend on a curriculum, we wouldn't see them and nothing would change. So, we need to be grateful that the individual is the one that's making those choices. It's still disappointing because Kahnawake used to be very clean. And I see, it's sad because I grew up in a different time. I knew the river before it was a seaway. And my grandfather used to, because he lived next to the post office, people would come out and they'd drop little pieces of paper if they had opened up their letters. And he would use a broom and a dustpan to sweep the front of the house. Now, coming just up 207, the road on each side has all kinds of stuff thrown in the ditch. And I don't understand why people can't hold on to their Tim Hortons cup until they get home to put it in a,
I know. That's something that it's such a small thing, but for some reason people
they have to throw it away out the window.
So when we do the community cleanup, well, I would always do the garbage pickup before it would be announced. So I'd end up with my gang with a wagon, and just doing a small section is unbelievable. So that's where we really have to make sure that even though the kids are learning Kariwadekwa in the classroom, to apply that in your everyday life, apply it and to live by that. So it's not just words, action,
Right.
walk our talk. So really important. When the kids come from meeting you at Ganusesnet, they're so excited and they're so happy. So we're so grateful at Kahnawake Tourism to have you as a facilitator that's able to share teaching knowledge and to just create that excitement in the future generation, so that they can continue continue connecting and helping us to protect what we have, because it's not just for us. When I tell people, I say the women out west are protecting against the pipelines for the fresh, clean drinking water that is the biggest source for all of the world. So it's not just because of their land, because of what done. So a lot of people don't realize that back in strawberry just brings everybody together in the community for this big celebration next month. And we are lucky that we have a lot of community businesses that offer strawberry juice all the time there. And it's a go-to fan favorite for a lot of people. Everybody has a version doing it. But coming up next month, we're going to be having our strawberry event on June 14th. We host an event that we can have visitors come and invite people into ceremonies. That's private. But this is an event where we can share with people from the outside our appreciation for strawberry and make them see the value of it also, and that they should be giving their thanks also. It doesn't need to be in ceremony the way that we do it, but just to be grateful for it and to take that time to be appreciative for it. So if you're around that weekend, we hope to see you. We'll have some activities going on and we'll have some food there. The vendors will all be bringing different strawberry products to sell. We have the month-long food fest that happens in the restaurants. So we encourage a lot of the restaurants to be able to offer strawberry themed things on their menus. And we try our best at Kahnawake Tourism to connect the culture with the people in the community, but also with the visitors that are coming from places. We wouldn't be able to do it without awesome support from
But I'm so glad because you get that information out there. How many people in their life have eaten a strawberry and ever thought about it? Does it have this history behind it? Does it comes from the beginning of time for us,
that connection?
And I don't know in their ways if they have anything like that.
No, I don't think so.
Our own ancestors had a way of looking at things that was so different, and so we need to value them. And like I said, despite what they went through, we're fortunate to still have this information, this way of looking at things. And
I said I always say we're just like the plants. You can cut a plant or try and stop it from growing, but it'll just find its way to make its way up to the sun. And that's where I feel like our people have been pushed down, but we're still reaching for this. So it's really awesome. So Niawa Koa for being our guest today. And we're very, very grateful to have this opportunity to sit down and chat and just to connect over this delicious fruit that is starting off our summer season. And Niawa for sharing the teachings with us. And can't wait to work with you again.
I appreciate too the work that you're doing because you're getting the information out there. And you're doing what we've always been told is once you hear something, once you learn something, your duty is to share it. That's the only way things will change.
Yeah, it's that for Niawa Koa.
Ana.
The views and opinions of the guests expressed in this podcast do not reflect those of Iorì and its employees.